Ladies, gentlemen, all variations thereupon. Today we're going to be making a Wonder Woman inspired dress. Now I'm not going to be doing the 2017 Gal Gadot Wonder Woman. No, I'm going to be doing more of a Star Spangled classic Wonder Woman look. And this isn't going to be so much of a costume piece. You see, while it's fun to make costumes that reflect fantasy characters and historical things and stuff like that, at a certain point you do actually just need clothes to wear, and unless you're going to constantly buy fast fashion, you're going to need to make something that you can wear out and about. So I'm going to try and make a Wonder Woman inspired dress that's actual everyday wear-ish. Now, as it is hot outside and the hottest day of the year so far, I am going to be trying to do this as quickly as possible with as few days of actual being in here in the hot room making with makeup on. So I've actually done all the drafting and mock-ups before starting filming, and I've got all my mock-up material and my drafts right here, so I can just jump straight into making the dress. So first thing we're going to work on is the bodice. So I'm not going to be putting darts in here. I'm going to be doing the sort of more old-fashioned technique of trying to seal the excess fabric in the side seam. And as the bodice is going to be the red material, I've got two pieces of red to choose from. The darker one, which suits me more in terms of my skin tone, and a lighter one which suits the skirt more, I think, and is more of the sort of animated comic book sort of style. So I think I'm going to go with the lighter one. It's also a lighter fabric that will do in the summer. So I'll set this one aside. So we'll start by flattening this out and pinning the draft pattern onto a fold. And as you can see, that's going to be the shape of it. It's going to be sort of a sweetheart neckline, but not quite. It's more flattened out. I don't know what that's called. I never went to fashion school.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
I should get myself an Indiana Jones hat. Anyway, that's been cut out. The thing I'm worried about is the back. I think I might have cut slightly too short, which if it's the case, I'll end up making a waistband out of this same material. I've got plenty of the material, so I'm not quite worried. I can cut out an entire new back if I needed to. So that's been done. Next I'm going to be moving on to the skirt, so I can pin it all together at once and do an overall look at how it is. The skirt is going to be a half circle skirt, except it's going to be cut into 4 panels. Why 4 panels? Pockets. That's why. You can't make a dress without putting pockets in. That's a crime against all that is female and feminine. So what we're going to do is create a half circle skirt in 4 different panels and use the side seams as places to put the pocket. Could do it in just 2 sections, but I've already drafted it for 4 panels, so we're doing 4. Okay, so I just thought of something while I was halfway through pinning that, so I've repinned it, and I've pinned it so that even though this is supposed to be the quarter of a half circle skirt, so it's one of the 4 panels, I've pinned it on a fold there so that the pattern across the front section will be continuous. I won't have to worry about lining it up. After roughly pinning it to check the fit, I can now get on to sewing. Okay, so what you'll see here is I've come to a point where I've put the pinning horizontally across there, whereas the rest are going vertically. And the reason I've put them in horizontally is because that marks where the pocket is. There's another one just here, horizontally, which marks the top. So what I want to do now that I've got to the pocket is do a quick back stitch. Forward again. Right up to the edge, and then I want to set my machine to do as long a stitch as possible in what's called a basting stitch. So we're just basically very slightly joining this part up just to make sure it all lines up and stays in line. And then once we've got past this, we'll go back to the tighter straight stitch in order to make sure we've got a tight seam. And this bit here then can be unpicked. So let's remove this pin. You never want to go over your pins. And that's my basting stitch, or close to the basting stitch as my machine can do. Finish with the needle down. Take this pin out, do another couple. Then I'll switch back to the thin stitch, go forwards, back, and then continue as normal. Okay, so after much fussing and a break because it got way too hot in here, I know what you're going to say, the people from Texas especially, but also Australia, you're going to say, oh, Britain, it's not really that hot if you have to deal with the heat that we have over here, blah, blah, blah. This house didn't have heating through the winter. It got to below 0 outside, didn't drop below 12 degrees centigrade on the inside. This is super insulated. As hot as it is out there, it gets hotter in here. Anyway, so you have to do now, it's slightly cooler. Now what you might have noticed is that the zip is the opposite way around to what you might expect. The zip part, when it's open, is at the top and closed at the bottom, and the zip is actually at the side of the dress. So you zip down to close, and it's a lot easier than trying to pull something up at the back, I think. Just having to think it's side, just zip down. Now in the classic Wonder Woman outfit, she always has some sort of detailing at the top, but I don't want to do anything too flashy and showy because it's supposed to be an everyday dress, and the more elaborate you make it, the more it stops being something that you can just wear every day. It becomes something costumey. So rather than doing the big elaborate designs at the top, I'm just going to bind the edges in a yellow bias binding tape to give the hint of that without it being something that's going to show off massively. And I do have yellow fabric, so I could do it with fabric, but I might just use this bias binding tape in order to make straps that go over the shoulders as well, just to keep it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the bias binding tape on, then I'm going to do the pockets. And the pocket I'm just going to make out of scrap pieces of the skirt material. I've actually got a fair amount of it left over, and I'm not likely to use this sort of pattern for anything else. So, you know, might as well just use it to make the pockets. And if you want a tutorial on how to make pockets, I have a whole video, which should be linked up here, where I put pockets into most of my dresses, and I go through in detail how to put pockets into dresses on there. So I won't go through all the details of it now. Alright, so my tripod has literally just broke. All that leg's all just wobbly now, so I can't do any of the close-up shots while I'm working, so I'm going to have to talk to camera a little bit. But what I'm going to do to install the pockets, remember I did the basting stitch after a back stitch. So what you may be able to see is, remember I did the back stitch here, and then I did the long basting stitch and then another back stitch. You can see where that is. So what I need to do now is unpick this basting stitch here, and that will make the hole for the pocket. So the pocket consists of two pieces of the skirt material that are just going to be sewn into the seam. So these parts here will attach to the seam itself. Okay, so the pockets are sewn onto the dress by the seam there. Something I thought I should mention, because it's fairly important, is when you're creating a pocket like this, an internal pocket, then what you want to do is create a piece of ribbon that attaches to the waistband. So in this case it's the seam allowance that's on the inside of the dress, because that distributes the weight a bit more. If you just had the pocket sewn into the side seam, then when you put something heavy like your phone in your pocket, all that happens is it will drag your dress down on that corner. If you've got the tape going to the waistband, then it pulls the weight down a little bit more there, and it distributes it between the side of your skirt and the waist, so you end up with a better look overall. And virtually there we have it. There are a few things left to do. Firstly, there is the internal seams that I have to press. But to do that I have to get the iron out, and I'm not ironing in this temperature, it's just not happening. So the seams are going to remain unpressed for now. But the other thing I need to do is to hem the bottom of the skirt, but I can't do that just yet because this is a half circle skirt, and whether you're doing a half circle skirt or a full circle skirt, you can't get away from the fact that when you cut it, you have to cut it so it's on the bias, which means part of the skirt is going to sag a little. So if I hemmed it up now and left it hanging up for a while, or wore it once and then left it hanging up, then over time some side of this is going to start sagging down where it's been cut on the bias, and the hemline won't be even anymore. So what I need to do is hang this up for a while, let the hemline sort of settle a bit, and then judge where I want it and finally hem it up. But that's as much as I can do today, and that was basically one day's work to get a fully functional dress. So having left that long enough for the skirt to settle, I've trimmed up the bottom, and as the temperature today is 22 degrees outside and only 27 inside, that means it's just about cool enough for me to press the seams. And now we're finally moving on to the hemming part, which involves folding this over so that we've got the correct length of the skirt going all the way around, but with the raw edges facing inside. Then taking needle and thread, passing it through the majority of the material we just folded, and only taking up 1 or 2 threads of the actual skirt, and then putting it tight so it all holds together. But we're only picking up 1 or 2 threads at the outside so that we won't see any of the thread that comes through. Well, I say that, I'm going to be using a blue thread because the majority of the skirt is blue, but once we go over one of these white stars, you're probably going to see a little blue dot in the middle of it. That can't be helped. And there we have it, a Wonder Woman inspired dress, complete with pockets. So there are a few things I might change on it. I mean, the straps probably need to be shortened just a little bit, and at the side here I sort of underestimated the amount of bulk that the zip would add, so there is an extra little bit of material up the top that could probably do with being taken out. But other than that, I'm very happy with this, and I don't think this would look too unusual just to wear it around. It doesn't look too costumey, and yet it has all the elements I think that make up Wonder Woman's costume. Star spangled skirts, red top with yellow detailing. So it harkens to Wonder Woman without being too much of a comic book costume. And the best thing about this is that I built the majority of it within a day. So really it was a one-day make, other than hemming the skirt, which I had to wait for it to finish, like settling anyway. But other than that, it was a one-day make. Nice, quick, easy. Once you've got your pattern done, everything just falls into place. It's not a difficult build. So over the next few weeks I may do some more sewing video. So over the upcoming weeks I probably will do some more sewing videos like this. I have a Captain Marvel outfit that I'm thinking of, and also several just everyday dresses. So if you're interested in any of those things, then be sure to subscribe, which you can do by clicking my cartoon head over this side. And if you want to watch any more videos right now, then this video up here has been picked out by the algorithm just for you. Oh, and you see this at the side? That's what my test rack looks like when it's not powered on. Just a mirrored cube. And you can see how you make that right there.